Welcome back. So from me and from Bear, who's tired from a day of sleeping, here is your news video for Sunday, June 5th. And so here's the board of topics that will be of discussion. You can go ahead and pause. And then, of course, there will be the chapters underneath the video of each topic that we are discussing today in order. And all of the topics that I'm sure we'll all agree are wonderful and everybody will be in a complete and total agreement on, as has been the case with most videos lately in the comment section. You can always tell when it's playoff time because the emotions really, really get high and then they drop until right around middle of August, and we start looking towards training camp, and then they start going up again because all 32 teams have a shot at the Stanley Cup until the season gets started. All right, so we're going to start things off with the Evander Kane suspension coming down today. It's one game, so one game for Kane. He will not play in Game 4. If the Oilers win and force a Game 5, that means Kane would be in the lineup for Game 5, which would be in Denver, which could be interesting. Does he then get challenged to drop the gloves right away, and then the rest of the game is just kind of business as usual? What would happen there? And so we'll see what happens with Kane. And again, as I mentioned in the video I did this morning, how does this affect his bargaining position when the Oilers decide that they're going to look at how much money he might be worth for how long? Does this affect contract negotiations at all? Because tomorrow night's game is the most important game of the season for Edmonton. There's not really any debate on that. It's not really hyperbole to say it. They're down 3-0. You don't win tomorrow, your season's over, and he won't be in the lineup. So I don't think that works in his favor when it gets to the negotiation time, but I'm often surprised by how much money and term players get. So we'll see what happens with Evander Kane, keeping in mind, of course, the Oilers have some cap issues that they would be looking to deal with as well if they're going to keep him and keep everything together as it has been. But it's been a fun ride for the Oilers. Is it over tomorrow? We will know tomorrow night. And I'll be here to report on it after that game's done. All right, next up, Bergeron. Bergeron sets a record with his 5th Selke Award. Breaking the record, Bob Gainey had 4. Bergeron with 5. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Years ago, I was of the mind of, maybe he's a Hall of Famer. Yeah, he's a Hall of Famer. The one thing with Bergeron now is, so now that he's set the record and he's got a Stanley Cup ring from 2011, can he retire right now and say, you know what, I've done everything I could do in my career. I'm quite happy with my accomplishments. Does he look at all of Boston's injury issues right now that are going to lead into next season and say, does that make him more likely to come back? Does it make it more likely for him to retire? We'll see. But at least for today, we know he's won the Selke yet again. The voting wasn't close. It ended up with Lindholm being number 2 in the voting, but yeah, it wasn't close. I was glad to see somebody throw a 4th place vote at poor Horvat. Good. But yeah, in general, this was not a close vote. This was just Bergeron's trophy. And yeah, so for fans who said, hey, he is far and away the best defensive forward in the league this year, there you go. There's your vindication. He wins, and it's really not close. Now, last night on 32 Thoughts, it was said by Elliot Friedman there's been no talks between Pierre-Luc Dubois and the Winnipeg Jets. Now, of course, Dubois went over and played for Team Canada at the World Championships and played well and played a lot. And so we'll see whether or not Winnipeg is able to come to some sort of an agreement with him sooner rather than later. I've always been kind of confused from a business standpoint with not having those contract negotiations with the player, and why not have those negotiations as soon as possible. So again, not knowing all the inner workings, I just find it odd when I hear this team and the player haven't had even a conversation yet. Why not? They should, pick up the phone, talk to him, keep that line of communication open, and keep a good relationship with your players that way. Now, I'm not saying there isn't one between Dubois and the Jets, just saying I'm surprised there hasn't been any kind of negotiations on a new contract as of yet. Dubois had a very good first half with Winnipeg. I thought his first half was better than the second half in Winnipeg, and so we'll see what they decide in terms of cap hit and length of contract Dubois is set to get. So, that'll be an interesting one to watch. Also, from last night's 32 Thoughts, reporting that the Chicago Blackhawks are testing the market for anybody not named Seth Jones, Jonathan Toews, or Patrick Kane. And so they're willing to make deals. They're willing to make deals for whoever somebody's willing to make an offer with. That tells me that, hey, maybe even Kirby Dach might be available for the right price. That price would be very high. So I'm going to go out on a limb and say Doc probably doesn't get moved in the offseason. But for the Chicago Blackhawks, this season was a mess, kind of from start to finish. They're glad that the season's done. And now we'll see with Chicago what the plan is going forward. And so I'm guessing there will be a number of trades, and that those trades could substantially change how the Hawks look next year. Keep in mind that the word rebuild has finally been used, so don't be surprised if veteran players are being moved out for futures, prospects, and draft picks, that kind of thing. So they're going to be an interesting team to watch in the offseason. I think it's going to be a busy offseason, and we'll come back to that, because busy offseason usually is busy in ways that we don't expect. Speaking of things we don't expect, Ottawa totally willing to go with 3 goaltenders. Now, whether this is Pierre Dorion just answering the question, kind of like, yep, no, we'll go with 3 if we have to, and secretly planning on moving one of the 3 goaltenders. They do have a situation where Gustafsson, pretty sure he has to pass through waivers. If he was going to go to the minors, they don't want to waive Gustafsson, so you'd have Forsberg, Murray, and Gustafsson. The obvious answer to that would be if Matt Murray doesn't have a fantastic training camp, and you probably move him to the minors and pass him through waivers and see if anybody would take the contract. That's my guess anyways, but if Matt Murray comes in and has a great training camp and he's 100%, it is hard to sell that idea as well. But a 3-goalie rotation, traditionally, it's very rare that it works. It's very rare that it has a successful outcome. And so if they start the season with a 3-goalie rotation, I wouldn't expect them to go very far into it. And not only that, but I would think that Ottawa probably moves a goaltender in the offseason. Now, who they move and what they get back, we'll see. But I'd be kind of surprised if Ottawa actually goes into training camp with 3 goaltenders and emerges from training camp. Because remember, you can make deals all the way up till the start of the season, and I'd be kind of surprised if Ottawa doesn't figure something out. Also, Carey Price winning the Masterton Trophy for dedication to the sport of hockey, and I'm perfectly fine with him winning that. I think that's a good pick. Of course, for Carey Price too, he's having various procedures with his knee. They're looking to see how it's going to react and whether or not it's going to have the right improvements. He's getting frustrated, obviously, with the fact that this is still an ongoing situation. Montreal would really like to know for sure whether or not he's going to play, especially going into the draft, going into free agency. They want to know whether or not they're going to have more cap space because he goes on LTIR, or if his plan is to play in October. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money that Price makes for a while yet to come, and so it's difficult to even think about moving that contract, even if he was willing to move that waive the no movement clause. And finding a taker with Price and with his knee problems would likely be very, very difficult. So I'm congratulating him on the Masterton. There's a lot of other issues with Price that are still out there and yet to be resolved, and hopefully they get resolved soon. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is just sort of one of those things. Going into the trade deadline, and then at this time of year, this is when we really get into the speculation season, because you've got unrestricted free agents, restricted free agents, players who are going to want trades, players we know have demanded trades in previous times like DeBrusk or Tarasenko. And so speculation goes crazy. I don't really get into the speculation side, for instance, talking about testing the market for Chicago. I have no idea what the market value might be for players. When I look at what Hagel brought back, honestly, I don't blame Chicago for testing the market, because maybe the market's really good for Chicago's players, especially a guy like Hagel who's relatively young, and for a Tampa team that's going to be cap-strapped beyond this season. So we'll see how it goes, but I don't really get into that. And again, this is that time of year, too, where there's a lot of just rumors run rampant, and a lot of them may not have anything behind them other than somebody in a similar situation to me saying, well, maybe this works. And they just look at rosters and go, hey, this team might work with this. Well, cap-wise, I guess that works, and then it becomes a big thing, becomes a rumor. And yeah, so it is that speculation season, so don't overreact to rumors. I have heard so many rumors with JT Miller, and you know what? I've even seen it from legitimate sources in terms of, being pretty big websites, sports websites, like, oh, JT Miller, this and this and this. As far as I can tell, Vancouver has no interest in moving JT Miller. He loves playing in Vancouver. They love having him on the team, and they want to sit down and work out a contract. So it's great to speculate on what Miller's value might be, but he's not even on the market right now. So I find it bizarre that I keep seeing all this. I'm like, we haven't even heard that he wants a trade or the team wants to move him, and that's just one example. So there's a lot of that going on, and so I do my best to report on what I hear through Elliot Friedman, Jeff Merrick, Chris Johnson, and just sources that I trust, and pass that information on to all you fine people. But I just wanted to throw that out there, and hey. Don't forget to not install the betting app that I haven't created. So don't install that. And the over-under for the remaining games today, well, there aren't any. So the over-under is 0. Take $100 and put it on the table and go, I'm betting $100 that there won't be any more goals tonight. And you take that $100, you fold it up, and you put it back in your wallet, and you go, woohoo, I broke even. And that's gambling my way. The first time we went to Vegas, I came out $7 ahead because I only gambled a grand total of $30, and I won $7, and I just pocketed it. I was like, good, all right, cool, and that was it. I didn't go near another machine. The last time we went, I didn't gamble at all. So Vegas is a great holiday if you don't want to gamble and if you don't plan on drinking, because both of those can get pretty expensive. But hey, there you go. Little bit of a travel advice from THG too. So there you go. The Travel Guy, TTG. No. That doesn't work. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, as over 240,000 people have done. Thank you guys so much. Or maybe 10 people have done it, and there's 240,000 bots. Somebody's really bored and just keeps creating accounts. I don't know, but whatever it is, the number keeps going up. Thank you guys so much for all your support. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you haven't. I will talk to you again soon.